In the continent of Europe, there are 12 monarchies: the Kingdom of Norway, Kingdom of Sweden, Kingdom of Denmark, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the Kingdom of Belgium, the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, the Kingdom of Spain, the Principality of Andorra, the Principality of Monaco, the Principality of Liechtenstein, and the Vatican City State. Of these 12 monarchies, only 10 of the monarchs have royal dynasties. The two cases that don't being the Vatican and Andorra. Andorra, because the power is shared between the co-princes, the titles of which are occupied by whoever is currently the President of France and the Bishop of Urgell. The Vatican, because the title of Pope and Bishop of Rome is an elective title and is not hereditary. Therefore, it wouldn't make any sense to have royal dynasties. Of the 10 monarchies in Europe, 9 royal houses rule over them. The only royal house that is shared between two countries is the House of Glücksburg, which is shared between Denmark and Norway. Of course, these royal dynasties have names, and these names, of course, aren't just made up. They have etymologies and meanings that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years. We're going to be doing the list alphabetically in the order of the names of the royal dynasties. Now, first we'll be covering the Royal House of Belgium. Now, the current king of the Belgians is Philip. Now, initially, the Belgian royal house was known as the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha until it was renamed in 1920. Now, this was done by King Albert I of Belgium to remove the German-sounding name of the royal house after World War I. Now, this means that the meaning of the House of Belgium directly derives from the name of the country itself. But where does the name of the country come from? Now, the name of the country of Belgium derives from the Roman province of Gallia Belgica, one of the provinces of the Roman Empire that entered the empire after the Gallic Wars done by Julius Caesar. The name of Gallia Belgica originates from the Belgae, a confederation of tribes in northern Gaul. Gaul being what is today France, of course, north of that would be Belgium. Now, at the time that the Belgae existed, much of France, that was then known as Gaul, was populated by various Celtic tribes. Therefore, it's speculated that the name of the Belgae comes from the Proto-Celtic root Belge, which roughly means something like to swell, as in to swell with anger. This means that the direct translation of the House of Belgium alongside the country of Belgium literally means the land of the people who swell with anger. Next, we have the House of Bernadotte, who is the royal house of Sweden under the current monarch Karl XVI Gustav, who is the King of Sweden. Now, the name of the House of Bernadotte takes its name from a woman called Germaine Bernadotte, who is an ancestor of the person who is seen as being the founder of the house, Charles XVI John, who was King of Sweden and Norway from 1818 to 1844, who was also a previous marshal under Napoleon. Now, Germaine de Bernadotte took her name from the house she lived in a region known as Pau in France. She co-owned it with her husband, Jean de Pau. Now, if you're familiar with the geography of France and know where Pau is, you may assume that the House of Bernadotte takes its name from the region of France that Pau is in, that being the region of Béarn. However, instead, it likely takes its name from the name Bernard, whose equivalent in English is the name Bernard. This is because it's a local tradition of that region to give specific names to buildings that people live in and add the suffix or satao, or in this case, it morphed over time into otter. The word ostao roughly translates to the word little. Now, the name Bernard directly comes from the Germanic words Bern, which directly translates to bear, and hard, which directly means brave. This means that the House of Bernadotte directly translates to Little House of Bernard, or if you want to also include the root of the name Bernard, it translates as Little House of the Brave Bear. The House of Bourbon-Anjou currently rules in Europe under Philippe VI of Spain. Now, And this one's going to be a little different because Bourbon-Anjou has two names as part of its name. So I'll be covering both etymologies of both parts. Now, the Bourbon half comes from the region of Bourbon in France. It's in almost the dead center of France. Now, the name of the region Bourbon comes from the word Bourbonnais, which the region was previously known as. The word Bourbonnais directly comes from the Celtic god known as Borvo or Bormo. The spelling and pronunciation of the name varies. Who was a local healing god in the region of Gaul, which is today France. The meaning of the name of the god Borvo likely comes from the theonym Boru, which means something like hot spring, stemming from the Proto-Celtic word buru, which means something like boil or brew. The Anjou half of the dynasty's name also, much like Bourbon, comes from a region in France, this time the region of Anjou, which is in northwest France. The word Anjou comes from the Andakavi, a Celtic tribe in northwest Gaul. Now, the meaning of the word Andakavi is uncertain. The Ander half comes from the Gaulish intensifying suffix, but the last half could mean either those or the big hollow from the Celtic word kuo, which kuo means hollow, or it could also come from the Celtic word kawaro, which roughly translates to hero. This means that the Bourbon half directly translates to Borvo, the Celtic god, or if you want to go even further, just to the word hot spring, while the Anjou part could mean something like of the big hollow or just great hero. The House of Glucksburg is the only royal dynasty in the world that currently rules in more than one country, that being Frederick X, the King of Denmark, and Harald V, the King of Norway. Now, the name of the House of Glucksburg is technically a shortening of its full name being the House of Schleswig-Holstein-Sonderburg-Glucksburg. The Glucksburg part of the name directly derives from Glucksburg Castle in Germany, which is the literal translation of the word Gluck and Berg, which literally mean luck and castle in German. This means that the House of Glucksburg literally means lucky castle. The House of Grimaldi is the current ruling house of Monaco, whose current ruler is Albert II, Prince of Monaco. It directly comes from the Germanic word meaning grim, which means something like fierce, and wild, meaning something like power. This means that the House of Grimaldi directly translates to something like fierce power. The House of Liechtenstein is the current ruling house of course, Liechtenstein, Hans Adam II, the Prince of Liechtenstein. Much like the House of Glucksburg, it is named after a castle, that being Liechtenstein Castle, of which directly comes from the German words Licht and Stein, meaning light and stone, of course meaning that the House of Liechtenstein literally translates to light stone. The next two royal houses are of Luxembourg and the Netherlands, and the reason why I'm putting them in the same part is because both of them are double names like the House of Bourbon-Anjou, but they share one of their names, that being the House of Nassau. In Luxembourg, it's the House of Luxembourg-Nassau, currently ruling Guilain V, Grand Duke of Luxembourg, and in the Netherlands, it's Orange-Nassau, currently ruling Willem Alexander, King of the Netherlands. Now, the Luxembourg part directly comes from the country itself, much like how Belgium did previously. The word Luxembourg itself comes from the Old High Germanic word Lucil, meaning something like little, and Berg, which means castle. In the Netherlands, the orange part comes directly from the southeastern French town of the same name. And of that, the name of the town of Orange comes from the Celtic word oras, which means something like temple or cheek. It's a common mistake that the name of the royal dynasty directly comes from either the fruit or the color, especially with the historic connection of the color orange to the Netherlands, although they're entirely unconnected. Now, the shared name between them, that of Nassau, directly comes from the county of Nassau, a region in West Germany. The word Nassau originates from the German word Nas, which just means wet, and Or, or Dir, which means floodplain. This means that the House of Luxembourg-Nassau directly translates to Little Castle Wet Floodplain, and the House of Orange-Nassau directly translates to Temple Wet Floodplain. And finally, we reach the House of Windsor, the current ruling house of the United Kingdom, currently under Charles III. The House of Windsor is directly named after Windsor Castle. Originally, it was also, much like Belgium, which we started with, the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, although they changed the name after World War II, of course, to disconnect from their German roots. Now, the word Windsor directly comes from the Old English word windel, which means windlass, and the word ura, which means something like riverbank. This means that the House of Windsor directly translates to riverbank with a windlass. Which, if you don't know what a windlass is, which I highly doubt you do, it's a mechanical winch used on boats and ships to raise and lower the anchor. So when someone says lower the anchor, they pull the winch and it falls down. So, I hope you like this. Like if you wanna, subscribe if you wanna. Bye.